There's a phrase from Neville Goddard that gets quoted a lot, or one that I've just heard a lot. So I listen to different podcasts out there. And the phrase goes basically, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So this got me thinking. Into the crux, what does that mean? Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And somewhere along the way, the internet turned that into just imagine what you want and it will appear. Poof. But if that were true, every vision board would work, every affirmation would work, every journaling exercise would change someone's life. But they don't. Not because imagination is fake, not because identity is fake, but it's because all of that really just lives deeper than thought. And identity lives inside the nervous system. So today, we're going to just delve into this a bit, talk about this a bit. Neville Goddard without the spiritual bypass. Now, as a teacher, Neville Goddard taught something radical, that imagination creates reality. But he never meant daydreaming. I think he meant identity rehearsal. And that's where I suppose manifestation would have its root. Get the word, but when athletes consistently imagine running the race, finishing that race strong, that whole process is essentially rehearsal. Your imagination isn't a movie you watch, it's a version of yourself you practice becoming. So when you imagine a life where you feel secure, where you trust life, you feel supported, you believe things work out, your brain begins asking, who would I have to be for that to be true? And it's that question that essentially shifts identity. But here's the catch. The nervous system must feel safe enough to accept that identity. Because if the body expects the disappointment and the negative connotation, it will quietly sabotage the whole vision that you've got going. So, why do you think manifestation fails when the body feels unsafe? And I think this is where we often skip an important step. Even modern spirituality calls it, would skip an important step. There's the word visualization. You can visualize abundance, right? But if your nervous system learnt that safety means controlling everything or anticipating the rejection, anticipating the loss, expecting the rejection, then the body interprets expansion as a danger. And the mind says, I want this. And that's more of what you get because that's what the mind is saying. The nervous system, on the other hand, starts saying, okay, but if it feels unfamiliar, why don't we stay where we are? And the truth is, unfamiliar often registers as unsafe. And that's why we want to stay where we are, right? And it starts speaking to the ego. I am safe here. And it's not because you're failing, but because your nervous system has learned this is how it protects you. So it's protecting you. Now, Neville Goddard didn't teach wishful thinking. He taught feeling state embodiment. The difference is subtle but powerful. Wishful thinking says, I hope this is going to happen. Feeling state says, this is who I already am. But embodiment doesn't necessarily mean forcing this belief. What it means is that it gently allows your body to experience the emotional atmosphere of the future. So, the emotional atmosphere of what is coming, not the outcome, of what is coming, the state of being. So, for example, not imagining the perfect relationship, but imagining how you feel when love feels safe. Not imagining success, but imagining how calm your body feels when things work out. And that's the shift. Creating the identity and the feeling before the evidence of it becomes real. So, the deepest teaching, in my opinion, of Neville Goddard's work isn't really necessarily about manifestation. It's about trusting life. Because the version of you who already lives in the life you want isn't obsessing over outcomes. They're living at a different baseline. And I'm sure you've heard, living in the 3D, the 4D, the 50, alternate realities, alternate timelines, same timeline. You can be you, but in a different timeline, you are that baseline, right? It's a different baseline. And the nervous system assumes that things can work out. In an alternate reality, things are working out. And again, it's not about obsessing over outcomes because the version of you already lives the life you want. The nervous system will assume support exists. The nervous system will assume setbacks on proof of failure because they don't chase proof. That version of you lives from identity. And that identity slowly reshapes reality. Not overnight, but consistently. Doing it consistently starts teaching and training your nervous system to believe. So maybe the question isn't, what do I want to manifest? Maybe the question is, where would I be if life felt safe enough to trust? Because really, imagination isn't about escaping reality. It's about becoming the self who can receive it. That's what visualization is. And that's where we're going to go to next. Because in the next episode, we're going to talk about something even deeper. And that's becoming the self who no longer needs the proof and validation of everything else. Until next time, beautiful souls.